Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Anime Symbol. And today I'm going to be giving you part 2 of What If Naruto Was the Perfect Life Form. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was the First Osusuke to Ever Exist over on Anime King 2. And if you're new and this is the first time you're hearing my voice, yes, I indeed have 4 channels. All the link for the other channels will be down below in the description, so go ahead and smash those red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. So without further ado or wasting more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode? Let's begin now, guys. So the last part that we left off, we started out with Tsunade Senju, as she was currently busy training Menma. Yes, she was training Menma. He was a son of Minato and Kushina. Tsunade was training him on how to evade and how to dodge when she realized that something was off. As she went to find Shizune, her protege, lying down alongside Menma's brother. She sighed. His name was Naruto. Naruto was the complete opposite of Menma. He was lazy, but not that much. He was just too relaxed. He was all about nature and just relaxing and living life. Yes, that was his thing. When she looked at it, it was like Hoshirama and Tobirama. Naruto ended up skipping out as he went to visit his father. As he went to tell his father about the butterfly that he saw today coming out of the cocoon. Minato loved his children, it didn't matter what. Minato was a Senju, Tsunade was his mother. Minato knew this, but they kept it away from the world because back then, Senjus were being hunted. Yes, things were really bad for them, so they had to keep it on the down low. Dan was Minato's father. She was pregnant. While Dan was taking his final breaths, and she never got the opportunity to tell him something that she would forever hate. But she had her son to worry about and to keep safe and protect. Naruto went home after that to find his younger sister. Yes, he just had a baby sister, while him and Menma were the hosts of the Nine-Tailed Fox. Their younger sister was just a child growing up, and it was their responsibility to make sure that she was safe as big brothers. However, not only that, the world was against these two. Tsunade was trying to make them understand that there were countless people out there that desire their death. Their name, everything about them, was a part of a lineage that was so huge, they had to be careful. However, Naruto wasn't your average child. He had perfect chakra control, in an extent. He was perfect. His mind was a work of art, and yet the child was just too relaxed. Too relaxed to not focus on certain things. As Naruto got himself a fruit smoothie when Sasuke Uchiha challenged him. Sasuke was a person that wanted to defeat Naruto after. They had a battle a long time ago and Naruto came out on top, but Naruto was always evading him. The next day they were heading to school as Naruto wanted to skip, but Menma dragged him along as they proceeded to head to school. Today was a special day as they would be going up against Class B. Menma and Naruto were in Class A, as they were some of the good-looking boys in the class, so they had quite the fangirl crush on them. As Naruto was always making sure that he smiled at them and waved at them. Menma was the cool, mysterious one, not giving off much, but Naruto was fun-loving and always making them feel happy, as he had a real good friend as well. Her name was Ino, as Naruto was friends with a lot of girls. Sasuke was waiting for the day when he can finally get his revenge, as he would prove that he was the stronger one. However, Class B had people that wanted to take Naruto down as well. A boy, his name was Hajime. There was another girl, she was Sadara. Both of them were Uchihas. Hajime did not like the fact that Naruto was hanging around Sadara. He seemed to have a crush on her or something. Sadara was also a good friend of Naruto's, as Hajime made it clear that he was Naruto's rival and he was going to defeat and humiliate him. So as they were sparring with one another, Menma showed that he was a great intellect person, as he was able to take down his opponent even after showing him a thing or two. As Naruto watched and waited, as many others went ahead of him. Sadara was also a very powerful kunoichi, as she was the top kunoichi in her class. As Naruto went after that, and his opponent was Hajime. Both him and Hajime started to fight, as Naruto was deflecting and dodging. The other kids might not know, but the teachers did. Naruto was perfectly mimicking Hajime. His body perfectly mimicked him, like he was a polar opposite of everything that he did, but in a same sequence that made no sense. As Naruto and Hajime punched each other across the face, knocking each other down. Naruto was fine, he just wanted this to be over with. As much as he was taught to fight, he didn't really like to fight. Some time passed as we find Naruto lying down on a massive, ferocious bear. However, the bear was not attacking him. Animals really like him, even the most ferocious ones. He was now 12 years old. The academy test was coming up soon, and Naruto felt like there was so much pressure on his shoulders to do this, to do that. And all he wanted to do was relax, as Menma came to find him. Tomorrow was a big day, Menma told him. That is when two ninjas arrive. As they attack, Mizuki arrived though to back them up when Naruto felt the off sensation, as Mizuki knocked Menma out. He wanted to kidnap him. Naruto lost his cool when Mizuki threatened to kill Menma, as Naruto summoned a massive tree. The tree was filled with thorns, no leaf, as everything in the vicinity was wiped away. When Minato arrived, the seal on Naruto's stomach was forcefully removed. His body seemed to purify itself and remove what he think was bad for it. With Menma being so close, the remaining chakra of the fox flooded into him. Minato had to reinforce the seal to make sure it did not break, as he had no idea what the hell just happened. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the playset of yourself. So say we jump right into this brand new episode. Let's begin now guys. We begin this new episode on top of a vast ocean. The ocean was situated by itself. The land platform that was around housed no humans. It was just an empty land. There were tiny islands surrounding it and some in the center. However, this was the deepest ocean in the entire elemental nation. Deep, 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 deep down below. Something was brewing. Something was awakening. Whatever it was far from natural. All that could be seen was twistering vortex of darkness that spread in the bottom of the ocean. Something that is truly unnatural was coming back to reality. A far distance away from this, the awakening of that whatever it was stirs something else as well. A beast, unlike any other, opened its eye. Its eye was red, with a golden hue around the pupil. The pupil was slitted like a snake, but it was more roundish. The very essence of this beast was power. Whatever it was, whatever these creatures are, their very existence was going to come as a shock at Konoha. Naruto's eyes snapped open. He leaped up off the hospital bed. His eyes frantically looked around, trying to find, when the door suddenly opened. As Menma stepped inside, Menma blinked in shock when he saw Naruto awoken. The wires that were attached to Naruto quickly popped off as Naruto enveloped Menma in a hug. Menma was caught off guard by Naruto's speed as Naruto held on to his brother. He quickly pulled back. "You're alright," he said, pure concern and worry in his tone as he looked at Menma. Yeah, I'm fine," Menma said. As Naruto nodded, grateful as he released a breath, despite just waking up. Naruto then clenched his fists. "Where is he?" "Who?" Menma said. "That bastard Mizuki. He wanted to kill you." Naruto clenched his fist until his knuckles were becoming white. "I'm gonna make sure he never make a mistake like that ever again to come after a member of my family." The ground shattered. Menma was frightened as the walls started to creak. Cracks started to appear on them. The heavy weight of Naruto chakra was shaking the entire hospital and beyond. Menma was frightened. He's never seen Naruto this mad before. There was a violent look in his eyes which just looked uncommon because his eyes were always calm or lazy. But now, Menma grabbed onto his shoulders. "Naruto, calm down. You're going to take down the entire hospital," he said. As Naruto looked around, seeing the cracks on the walls and the broken ground, he took a breath. He was not used to anger, never was, and now that he was angry, his chakra was behaving that way as well, leaking out of him like a faucet, pouring water. The door opened up right after, as Naruto saw her, his 4-year-old sister. Her eyes widened when she saw he was awake, despite looking a bit scared a moment ago because the place was shaking. "Big brother," she shouted as she ran. She crashed right into Naruto, knocking him over. As Naruto held her in his arms, she was so worried about him as she saw him in the hospital unconscious. Despite her mom and dad telling her that he would be fine, she loved her big brother, and to see him like that, she cried. So now to see him awake, she was crying tears of joy, so happy that he was okay. Menma had woken up soon after the event, as there was no bodily harm done to him. The seal had held up, despite the weight of the chakra. From the Kyuubi, the seal had kept up, so he was just fine. However, Naruto has been unconscious for a day, and a few hours, almost leading into 2 days. There was nothing wrong with him, but his body had went through drastic changes. When his mom arrived, she enveloped him in a tight hug, literally refusing to let him go. It took time for her to release him, seeing her son in the hospital unconscious, with not even the doctors know when he would wake up because his body was responsive and normal. That had scared her. It would scare any mother. As his Bachan arrived as well, Snedy was happy to see him awake. It turns out that Naruto had no recollection of what happened. All he remembered was Menma getting strike, and Mizuki threatening to kill him. And then this boiling rage, this anger like never before, swallowed him, and he blacked out, and he couldn't remember anything. Minato did not hold back on letting his son knew exactly what happened, as Naruto had taken down the 3. Menma had, given what he was able to understand in the moment. However, Minato was already able to understand everything pretty well. However, it was a shocking realization that Mizuki was a traitor. He spent quite a few years rising up in the ranks, but all this time he was a traitor. While he wasn't your elite ninja or anything, he was a teacher to mold the next generation. So yes, finding out about this was quite a triggering event, to know that the students were being taught by a traitor who wanted their downfall and who tried to come after his kids. However, they weren't able to gather any information because they were no longer amongst the living. At the moment, Naruto stood as he saw the gigantic tree that was being taken down by the ninjas. They were hacking it apart, getting the pieces to burn. The thing was colossal. Naruto was shocked that he was the one that created this. He couldn't remember doing that. All he felt was a burning rage. The thought that Menma was going to have his life taken away. Naruto felt upset with himself. Despite this not being his fault, he didn't know why. Maybe it was all the words that his grandma had told him. How dangerous the world truly was, and how there would be people out there that would not hesitate to try and claim their life. And he was always too relaxed, always too aloof about it. Maybe that's the reason why he was so upset about everything. Time skip. But this doesn't make any sense, said Minato. Once again Yamamoto was there, along with Tsunade. He's right, Tsunade said. It doesn't make any sense. On the table in front of him was files. It was a study that they had run on Naruto a few days back. Not only is he no longer a Jinchuriki, given the pathways and how the chakra has molded with his, there is no possible way that it would have been able to be that easily removed. My grandmother once told me that if a tail beast is removed from a Jinchuriki, they will die. Kushina is a full Uzumaki. Her body was able to uphold itself even after the tail beast was removed after a few minutes. And even then, it was a struggle to make sure that she did not pass on that table. We did everything we could, and we were successful. But you know the drawbacks of that, said Tsunade. But him on the other hand, his body did not go in any failure. When you told me what happened, I was worried about that. But no, his body was perfectly stable. It was like nothing had happened, like no movement had changed anything about his physiology. Until now, that we've run the second test on him, Tsunade said. And this is where the confusing part comes in, Yamamoto said. This was a file upon Naruto testing a few days back, but now it was like the seal was there as a problem. Imagine having too much leaf over an opening. The leaf are stuck together by some sticky fluid, something to hold it in place. However, there are still leaf, so water still run from that opening until the leaves are removed, allowing the water to run at its full capacity. So the Death Reaper seal was basically holding him back, said Minato. He was confused about that, as confusing as it is. Despite its entire purpose being to hold back the Nine Tails, it held his body back. And now, it was like it was some kind of virus to be purified. I've never heard of anything like this in my entire life. But now, his chakra has risen to abnormal levels. I don't think there was any human alive that has ever been blessed with this amount of chakra. It's like he's a tail beast himself. His chakra is replenishing and growing and twirling like a tail beast chakra. But it's not corrosive. Think about the human body having a stream inside of it, which is our chakra flow. But his body does not have a stream. It has a swamp. A swamp that is 100 times larger than your average stream of chakra. We've tried to see if there is a limit. However, it's like going through a swamp. But the deeper you go, the thicker you go. And your body starts to slow down, preventing you from reaching the end. Normally, this would be a problem, Yamamoto said, for someone to have this vast amount of chakra running through their coils. It would mean they have no control, especially at such a young age. But despite the thickness of his chakra, it's working perfectly with his body, moving and going around on its own to ensure perfect harmony and peace. While many see chakra as a force, a spiritual thing, it's like your sun chakra is truly alive. There's only one word that comes to mind that involves his chakra and himself together. Perfection, Yamamoto said, as he glanced at the boy who was inside the room reading a taijutsu physical book. Minato stepped close towards the window as Tsunade stepped towards him. This event has changed him in more ways than one. Yes, I've noticed, said Minato. Since Naruto has woken up, he hasn't smiled. And this was Naruto that they were talking about. He was different as well. His focusedness. He's become a lot more quiet as well. All of them had noticed the changes despite not much time has passed. As Minato looked toward his boy, the event was traumatic for him. Minato felt the hospital shaking. The walls had broken, the ground had been destroyed. He thought that he would have lost Menma right in front of his eyes. Minato understood. Time skip. This was a first. Never before had he come to her, asking for her to train him. So here they were now. Tsunade Senju, as she had both of the balls in her hand. She kept on throwing them, as she kept on increasing the pace that she was throwing them at. As for Naruto, he hadn't gotten a hit, not even once. It was different, a lot different than before. Before he could feel it, and he could twist his body and turn it into certain ways to mimic the actions of others around him. But now, it was like a sense, an enhanced sense. None of the balls could touch him as Naruto's body was basically moving and twisting on its own, evading all of the attacks. That was until he slammed his fist into one of them. It shot past Tsunade's face. As the rope on her hand burst, the ball was launched away. As Naruto looked at her, she stood there rather calm. She understood what was going on. Your test is not enough, said Naruto. How about we keep this up a notch? How so exactly, she said, looking at him. Why don't you attack me, said Naruto. Tsunade quirked her eyebrow as she gazed at him. You want me to attack you? She repeated his words. Yes, said Naruto. You've seen what I can do. We both know that I'm not an average child. Not at all. So why don't you try for me to see how far I can push myself? Tsunade undid the rope, the other one that was tied to her wrists, as she was getting herself ready. What? You thought I would deny your request? However, prepare yourself, because I don't see you walking out of this without a few broken bones. After all, I'll simply heal you when I'm done. Despite her words, though, Naruto was calm as he slipped in a stance. She was surprised when she saw the stance. It was the same one like his father's. She said nothing though, because she understood what he was going through. She knew why he was acting this way. She knew what was going through his head, and she knew how to fix him. It was going to be a bit hard, but she knew how. Tsunade pushed off the ground, leaving a small crater in her wake. Her fists annihilated the ground where Naruto stood. Naruto was shocked as he was suspended in mid-air. Countless debris in the air as her fist had demolished the ground. However, he had moved away just in time. Naruto was frightened by her speed and her strength. Tsunade thrust her fist out at least 5 times as she sent the debris right towards him, the large broken stones. Naruto twists and turned, evading all of them as he caught one of them, as he felt the pressure as it burned in his hand. He launched it back towards her. She simply knocked it away though. As Naruto was in front of her, he drove his heel down towards her temple. She caught it. before she slammed her fist in his stomach. However, he poofed away. Snatty drived her heel in the ground, cracking it open as Naruto emerged. She spun as he flicked over her leg. She reached out to grab him, but he held up the tiger's seal and exhaled, winged towards her face, using it to propel himself backwards as he flipped several times in mid-air before he landed. She drove her leg into the ground, causing the entire place to shake, taking him off balance. Before she thrust towards him, her palm outstretched, Naruto bent his body back. As she went over him, he grabbed onto her arm and flicked himself upwards. He then twisted and brought his heel down. She blocked it. However, the pressure shoot right down into the ground. The ground cracked as Naruto flipped and landed. His arms were now covered in a blue glow. His chakra was so heavy and so much that it was coming out physically. He dashed forward, cracking the ground as he did, as he started to throw a bunch of fists. Snatty met each of his attacks until the both of them collided with a furious punch. The ground below them erupted as their fists did not make contact. However, the pressure between the both of their punches was destroying the ground beneath them. That was until Snatty kicked it up a notch. Her force overpowered his. In that split second, she saw something. However, she still blasted through and hit him right in the gut. She launched him like a bullet. Naruto crashed through several trees before he crashed in the forest. Snatty did not look worried though, despite just launching him a few distance away. As she made her way, she landed down towards him as he was leaning up against a tree. But he started to get back to his feet though. That is when she noticed the plants and the trees around her. They started to move towards her direction. She figured that fighting would bring it out. He snapped his gaze up towards her. As she noticed a chakra around his hand, it started to grow smaller, more compact, like a second layer of skin around his fists. But it was light blue. It also surrounded his legs as well. As Naruto bent his legs before, he shot towards her. Snatty was surprised as she moved out of the way. Naruto twisted mid-air as a tree bent itself in his direction. When his feet made contact, the pressure seemed to vanish. As he then shot back off, she ducked once again. This time though, she grabbed the back of his shirt. However, he spun in mid-air, surprising her as he brought his heel down. She blocked his attack. The ground under her exploded. He kicked off and flipped away as he landed. "That's enough," said Snatty. "What? But we're just getting started," said Naruto. "Well, you're right about that. This is the first time since I began training you that you've actually shown me what you can do. I always knew that you were at least 10 times stronger than any of the students within your class. While Menma is a very special individual and is greater than the rank of Genin as we speak, you on the other hand, in my years of living I've come across many people who they claim to be prodigies, and while most of them are, some like your father or that Uchiha boy, there has been many throughout history. None of them is going to be able to hold a candle to you. I've known this from a long time ago. However, you've always doubted yourself. The attitude that you have taken upon yourself, laid back and relaxed. It is a form of self-doubt that you've used for countless years now. You act like you don't want to do what is put in front of you, but that is not the case, is it? You know you can do it. However, at the same time you don't want to mess up. Because if you can, then there should be no reason why you should mess up. Many people have given you a lot of praises since you were younger, even myself included. Many people speak to you as if you're not your own person. It's like you're just guided within your father's shadow. And that has put a lot of pressure on you. Despite knowing you can do what many expect from you, you hold it back, believing that if you act aloof, many of them would not expect a lot. But given what recently happened, it is your first time in true danger, and you saw that all that I've told you is reality. But even now you're afraid. I can sense it, you know. The more you fight, the more chakra you release. However, it's like a large pipe. However, there's only a droplet coming out. Because you're holding back. I can feel it. You're not just doubting yourself. You're doubting your capability to protect the ones that you love. Snelly walked over towards him. She pulled him into a hug. As Naruto stood there. I understand that everything you went through was quite traumatic on you. However, you're not alone. You have your family. You have your friends. All of us were here for you, to help you in anything that we can. His mom had told him the same thing. For a much longer time, a few hours, she also noticed that he was different as well. His father also spoke to him as well. It seems everyone catch on to what was going on. It's okay to act silly some of the times. As long as you know when the time comes you can put it aside and fight for the ones that you love. She pulled back, and I know you have the capability to do so. So stop doubting yourself, okay? She said to him. And remember this. You have the potential to become one of the greatest ninjas to ever walk this earth. By the rate that you're growing at, by how your body is different and react different than most, you're a very special child. That should not be a problem. That should actually be your strength. She said to him with a smile on her face. And for the first time since waking up, Naruto's lips curved upwards. Thanks, Bachan, he said. Snelly, I twitched. What have I told you about calling me that? As Naruto started to sweat, when he realized that her arms were wrapped around him, you realize that there is nowhere for you to run, right? After all, you're in my embrace. Sorry, said Naruto. Oh, that's not gonna cut it this time. You always escaped. But now, Naruto screamed as she started to squeeze the living daylight out of him. Time skip. Snelly went to talk to her son. Minato wanted to see what Naruto was capable of, but Snelly had an idea that he was going to come to one of them, mostly her for training, and she was correct. During their battle, she saw a lot. For one thing though, he did have the Mokidan ability, but it was different. Similar but different. But the main attributes that he possessed was a control over his chakra. While that was going on, Naruto was lying down in the field. As Menma arrived, picking himself up, he glanced towards Menma. Menma looked around at all of the destruction. What the hell happened here, he said. Oh, training session, Naruto said, as Menma stepped forward. He looked at Naruto oddly. I've noticed that you've been acting strange, he said. Your personality changing to one that most people don't know you of. The whole serious demeanor, it's my thing, not yours. So, return back to normal, Menma said in a demanding tone, causing Naruto to chuckle, surprising Menma. You know, it's really touching how much you care about me, but you say it in ways that make it sound like you don't. You're a really wonderful baby brother, said Naruto. Menma slapped his arm away. I'm not a baby, he said, and you shouldn't worry about me. I just got caught off guard. Next time, that will not happen. Naruto looked at him as he was now serious. I'll always worry about you, he said to Menma. That's what big brothers do after all. As he was dead serious. Menma simply looked away. So, about the Nine Tails, Naruto said. Yeah, Dad spoke to me about it. It seems all of it went into my seal. So how's that going? For you? Physically and mentally, said Naruto. Well, mentally I'm fine, but physically, it did set back my chakra control just a bit. It seems like Dad quick thinking of placing 2 odd seals on it stopped the flow from messing up my chakra pathways. However, it is going through, but it's gonna take some time before it returns back to a normal flow. But I guess the seals are helping quite a lot. Well, that's a good thing, said Naruto. You know, I didn't ask. What the hell happened with the test, Naruto said. It's next week. Given the whole thing, it was postponed. Oh, Naruto said as he lied down on the grass, as he patted right beside him. Menma sighed as he walked and sat beside Naruto. You know, Menma, I have this strange feeling. Ever since what happened. What are you talking about? I don't know how to explain it. It's like there's something out there that I need to do. Something like what? Like a destiny. Yeah, like that, said Naruto. It's almost like there's something I need to do. I don't know what exactly it is, but... Well, it's just a weird feeling, Naruto said. Well, whatever it is, I'm here to help, Menma said. Yeah, I already know that, said Naruto. As he was smiling, a smile actually cracked on Menma's face, seeing Naruto slowly returning back to normal. But he was different, as he was actually focusing on training now, given the feel. Unaware to both of the boys, something was watching them. A slitted eye in the trees gazed towards the both of them. However, the eye was mostly focused on Naruto. As a voice spoke up, the voice sounded unusual. It wasn't human. The perfect one. The voice whispered, looking towards Naruto. Time skip as both Menma and Naruto arrive at the academy, the both of them sporting their new headbands. The test was easy, extremely easy for them. Before they could enter the building though, there he stood. It was Hajime, with 2 of his friends standing behind him. Hajime was proudly wearing his headband as well. As both Naruto and Menma came to a stop, Hajime stepped forward. Well, it seems you were able to somehow pass by and become a genin as well, Hajime said, looking towards Naruto. Yep, it seems that way, said Naruto. Well, this is good. Now that we're official ninjas, we can fight as ninjas. No holding back, Hajime said, as Naruto vanished. Hajime blinked in shock, surprised by the speed. However, Naruto did not return. Hajime blinked. So did the 2 guys behind him, as Menma eyes started to twitch. They stood there for a good 2 minutes when Naruto finally came back, holding a fruit smoothie in his hands. Oh, sorry about that. I just got this spontaneous craving, Naruto said, causing everyone to sweat drop. Menma really wanted to sock him over his head, as he thought that Naruto was going to put Hajime in his place. But he guessed he was wrong. Enough of your games, Hajime said. Are we gonna do this or what? Come on, said Naruto. It's early in the morning, and besides, I'm drinking my smoothie. And today is the day that we find out what team we're gonna be on. Why don't we fight another time? We can have a proper fight somewhere away from the place where the teachers will try to stop us with all their might. Is that really the outcome of the battle that you want? Tch! Hajime grit his teeth. Fine, he said. But we will fight as genins. And I will prove to you once and for all that I am the Great One, he said. Sure thing, Great One, said Naruto. Hajime glared at him before he turned and walked away. You know, he doesn't seem that bad. One of Hajime's friends spoke up. Hajime snapped his glare towards him, causing the guy to be quiet. You really move off at that speed just to get a smoothie, Menma said, as Naruto could feel a rising aura. I got you one as well, Naruto said, holding out the other one. As Menma looked at it, before he looked at Naruto, he snatched it out of Naruto's hand. As the both of them start to walk away. The least you could say is thanks, you know that, said Naruto. Let's just get going, Menma said. As they entered inside, they came across Sadara. Took you long enough, she said. I saw Hajime storming down the halls. Let me guess, he challenged you again. Naruto tapped Menma on the shoulder. I'll see you in class, okay? As he walked off, Menma simply headed towards the class. Like for the 100th time, said Naruto. Yes, he's a very predictable one, she said. She smiled towards him. I'm glad to see you're doing so well, she said. And back to your old fun goofy self. I like that. She had came to pay him a visit while in the hospital, and she saw the shift in his personality. However, that seemed to be returning, and she was happy about that. As they arrived towards her classroom door, guess the next time we see each other, we're going to be active ninjas in the outside world, she said to him. After all, I figure it's gonna be rather hectic from this moment on. Yep, pretty much, said Naruto. Well, I wish you all the luck, he said to her. She leaned forward as she kissed him on the cheek. Wow, said Naruto. Just a little kiss for good luck, she said to him. Really now, given how horrible your luck is, you think that is safe? My luck isn't bad, she said to him. How many game of cards have you win against me? That doesn't mean anything. That's just because you're really good at cards. I suppose you're right. Well, I'll take it, said Naruto, as he smiled at her as he watched her enter in the class. The moment the door opened, Naruto could see Hajime inside. Hajime saw him and his gaze immediately turned to a glare, as Naruto waved at him with a smile, pissing him off. As Naruto chuckled before he started to walk, when suddenly he came to a stop. Naruto gripped onto his chest, feeling something strange. What the hell? A distance away from this location, beneath the sea once again, whatever that darkness was, it was stirring, it was moving, and somehow Naruto was feeling it. Time skip. They were all seated in class, as Haruka was calling out the names. As he reached Team 7, Menma, Sasuke, and Sakura Haruno, the academy had changed somewhat, as the teams now fully complement each other, not on their lack of mobility and the weakest member. After all, Menma was on this team with Sasuke, so that shows. Sakura was book smart. However, physically though, she was not that great. However, she was a new student of the medical program. Upon finishing the assessment of the academy, the students were selected to show the best field that they've taken. Sakura had excellent chakra control, so despite her finishing the academy, she still had classes with the legendary Sannin, Tsunade Senju. Ino was one of them, Hinata as well. Hinata being a Hyuga had excellent chakra control, and there was 2 other boys in the class as well. While their chakra might be low, they still had perfect control over it. So yes, they were indoctrinated into the medical classes. Naruto watched as more names were called. Team 8, Hinata, Shino, and Kiba. Kiba was happy because he had a crush on Hinata. Team 9 was still in circulation. Team 10, Ino, Choji, and Shikamaru. Naruto was confused as they were finished. Sensei, Naruto said. Naruto, I figure you might ask. Someone is here for you. Me? Yes, you. Oh. The door opened up as a man came inside. He had brown hair, dark eyes, wearing a Jonin vest. As Naruto wondered what was going on, Menma was looking at him. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Who are you? Said Naruto. My name is Yamato, and from now on, I will be your sensei. But with who else? Said Naruto. As he looked around. Wait, is it the students from the other classes? He asked. No, it's just you and me, said Yamato. The Hokage has personally assigned me to take over your training. Really? Now I understand why Dad was being cagey about how things were going to be set. As Naruto looked Yamato up and down, he was getting a good feeling from this man. Although, the last person who he thought was a good teacher tried to hurt Menma. But this man was different. Time skip. They both stood in a field. So you're going to be my sensei. So I guess that makes me kind of your solo protege, said Naruto. I guess so, said Yamato. I was chosen for a specific reason though. Yamato went through hand sign before he slammed his hand down. Oh. How is that possible, said Naruto. I thought the first Hokage and I were the only ones that possessed this ability. To be born with it, yes. But I was a part of a special program that helped me acquire these abilities. I've heard a lot about you. I've heard the things that you can do. While not to throw shades at your other classmates, I've spoken to Lady Snaddy and she's told me a lot. So you must understand the difference between you and them. A team would not be right for you. Your skills far outmatch everyone else. I'm also told that you have all 5 chakra natures. But not only that, you have a high control over genjutsu. You specialize in 2 fighting style. And you've already have a few ninjutsus under your belt. Yep, pretty much, said Naruto. Yamato was shocked for one to be so young and already this skilled. But his father thought it best that he go through the proper channels of becoming a genin and rising up through the ranks. They were not facing any great threats. They were allowed to go through this smoothly. I will stand by your side as your sensei to guide you and prepare you for the outside world as we partake in missions. You know, I like your attitude. You seem like a really cool guy, said Naruto. So yeah, let us begin, shall we? Time skip. A girl. She was 13 years old. Her clothing was elegant. She wasn't any normal girl. She had snow white hair with beautiful violet eyes. Her name was Akeno Quincy. She was a part of the Quincy family. A very rich, pristine family. Akeno had came to Konoha a few days ago with her family as they were working out something with Minato. Some trade business that was going on. Her family was incredibly rich. And having their business with Konoha was extremely good for the village. During that time, Akeno met Naruto and they became quick friends. Her family was going somewhere else before returning back home. Akeno had asked if she could stay. They would be more than happy to watch over her. The reason mostly because she wanted to keep on hanging out with Naruto. Because of her family name, she didn't have much friends. And those that call themselves her friend, well, they were just acquaintances, not truly her friend. But Naruto was different. So when the time came to escort her back home, Naruto was the one that she wanted. The mission was supposed to be a quiet one. Akeno still had her guards, but it turns out that one of her guards were not so good. He gave out information. That is why she found herself falling off a mountainside. She had actually jumped off. Up at the top was a very large man. His head was bald, he had black beady eyes. He was a former member of the Hidden Stone, now rogue ninja. Their mission to bring her back home had led to a battle. Naruto and his sensei took on the horde of enemies and the 2 brothers that came. Supposedly they were well known, the Brothers of Steel. Along with their posse, their goal was to kidnap her. However, she jumped off because she knew. She was grabbed. As she felt herself slowing down, her eyes fluttered open. Smile broke on her face. I knew that you would save me. Of course I would, Princess, Naruto said. As suddenly, she saw something. It was plants. Naruto rested her on top of one. Don't worry. They're gonna make sure that you're safe. While I go and end this, said Naruto as he glanced upwards, seeing the man about to jump. Akaino smiled at him. Alright, Naruto, she said. Kick his ass. You know it. Naruto ran up the wall as he jumped. Both of them met in mid-air as their fists collided. A violent force rippled out, launching the both of them away. They crash-landed on the ground. Akaino was safely protected by a garden of flowers and plants that kept her safe inside of the center. Naruto started to walk forward. That's quite a nifty bloodline you have there. The brother of steel. He had the ability to convert his body to steel. The steel release, known by many but rarely have. It doesn't matter what you do, kid. You can't defeat me. Didn't earlier show you that? Yeah, I suppose you're right. My fists aren't able to break you while you're in that form. That's right, he said as his body turned into a metallic color. He started to slowly approach. However, I'm never one to have given up, and I'm not about to start right now, said Naruto. This is something I've been working on, by my own. One of the few, if I must be more precise. How about you see if you can withstand this force? Naruto slammed his hand together, going through two hand signs, before he drive his hand into the ground. Wood style. Palms of fury. Snedy was right that Naruto Mokitan was unlike any. Two hands, created from plant and wood, erupted from the ground. The hands then start to morph. More hands came from the sides and the center. The brother of steel eyes went wide when the palms came slapping down on him. He turned his body into steel, trying to stop the hands from crushing him down. The problem was when he was like this, he was extremely slow. Naruto kept his hand locked in the ram seal as the hands kept on slapping and slapping and slapping and slapping. However, the man was still able to withstand that amount of force. As Naruto released an extreme amount of chakra, the hands, they became humongous. But not only that, the force behind them. Akaino's eyes went wide when the entire place started to violently shake. They came down at least 1,000 times in a span of minutes. As Naruto watched the gigantic crater that was left in its wake. A lot has happened. It has only been a month and a couple of weeks, but a lot has happened. As Naruto stepped towards the crater, when the brother exploded out of it. As Naruto looked towards him with a smile, he thrust his fist out. The fist stopped an inch away from Naruto's face, before the guy's eyes rolled back, as he proceeded to collapse. It looked like he was still able to fight, but he was not. Seems your body didn't hold up as much as you thought, huh? Naruto said. Akaino came running over to Naruto as she jumped right in his embrace. My, princess, said Naruto. How forward of you. Oh, shut up, she said, before she hugged him, making Naruto smile as he saw Yamato. The other brother was out, along with the other goons. Yamato gave Naruto a thumbs up, as Naruto gave him one right back. Time skip. Akaino was safely home. She wanted Naruto to stay for a bit longer, but unfortunately he could not. Although, she was talking to her parents on making more trips to Konoha, because she wanted to see her friend again. As they said goodbye, Yamato had to say, being a part of Naruto's growth was a very rewarding task. He was glad that the Hokage chose him to be the one to do this. This child was beyond any that he's ever seen. He's read many things about many powerful shinobis, many powerful people in the past, but this child will put them all to shame. His mind, everything that, his whole personality, there was just something about this kid that was extremely abnormal and at the same time make him extremely special. After all, what kind of kid is H? Have you heard about that created a few jutsus already? Yeah, this kid was something else. Time skip. Menma was partaking in his first C rank. As they were heading out, they were currently making their way. However, a puddle was in the walkway. Menma glanced towards Kakashi, who seemed oblivious, but Menma knew that he was not. Kakashi got ripped apart. The demon brothers, Sakura, quickly pulled her kunai and stepped in front of the client, knowing that these two would be able to handle a threat. Menma vanished. Slice. The chain was cut in half. Miyaizo was shocked. So fast, bam! Menma backhanded him. Gozu tried to step in, but Sasuke grabbed onto his part of the chain and yanked it, before planting a kick into his face. The other one recovered from Menma's backhand as he swung the claw, trying to decapitate Menma. A blade in Menma's hand that he used to cut the chain, covered in winged chakra. Menma sliced right into the gauntlet, causing the demon brother to quickly pull his arm out. His staggering cost him, as Menma stepped into his guard and swiped 3 times. He cried out in pain as his shirt got sliced open at the front. 3 bloody slashes in his chest. Menma flipped as he landed and gripped the guy's head as he did so. He then twists, flipping the larger man, before slamming him into the ground as Menma planted his foot on his throat. He placed the blade at the tip of his skull. "Move and die," he said. The demon brother was baffled. The other one was subdued by Sasuke as he was pinned to a tree with several kunais. These children might be Genins, but they were definitely above Genin level. Clapping could be heard as Kakashi arrived, as Menma slammed his boot right into the demon brother's face, knocking him out. Sakura was happy to see their sensei was okay as she looked over to see the pile of wood. Time skip. You know, as important as training is, you need to rest yourself sometimes. Menma turned as he saw Naruto. Figures, you would be the one they sent. "Oh, did you miss me?" said Naruto. Kakashi had sent for backup, upon realizing the threat was much more than they thought. That was a few days ago, as Naruto and Yamato was sent. Naruto has worked with every single team, even his rival's team. Him and Yamato being a special case, he has worked with every team, except for Team 7. He has worked with all of the other Genin teams, even his rival team as well. So Menma was kind of expecting this to happen. "So, what's the situation?" "Got your ass kicked," Naruto asked, looking at him. You wish. I told Kakashi there was no reason to send for backup, that we had this. But he wanted to be careful. "Now that you're here, don't go and slow me down," Menma said. "Oh please," said Naruto. "If anything's gonna happen, it's gonna be that I'm going to be showing you up," said Naruto with a smile. Time skip. Someone had to stay back. The kid was having some problems, as Naruto could see that. That is why, when the 2 thugs came, Naruto did not directly intervene. He waited. "Come on, you can do it," Naruto whispered to himself. He smiled when he saw the boy charge forward, despite knowing that it was certain death. In a flash, as Iniri found himself enveloped by his mother, he was confused. Tsunami was shocked. It all happened so fast. "You alright, kid?" said Naruto. Iniri looked up, shocked. Naruto placed a hand on his head. "I heard that you said there was no such thing as a hero. Well, what you just did is a literal definition of such. Naruto said, smiling down towards the boy, as Iniri had tears of joy in his eyes. But now, it's time that I go, so we can end this once and for all. Naruto went off. However, as he was heading to the bridge, he was feeling a sensation in his chest. A distance away, something was traveling through the water, heading towards its location, and it was more than one. Back at the bridge, Haku, subordinate of Zabuza, found himself in front of the two. Sasuke was leaning up at the other side of the bridge. He had a lot of senbon sticking out of him, but he was going to be fine. However, something did happen though. His eyes, the Sharingan. And Naruto and Menma were standing side by side. Menma holding on to his blade, Naruto bare hand. As he stood there, you know, there's a much easier way. Let's just stop all of this. Because you can't win, said Naruto. As grateful as that sound, to end the violence, I'm afraid this is something I must do. Fine, Naruto said. We'll just stop you. Enough talk, said Menma. As Naruto was able to destroy the ice dome from the outside with ease, Haku had to be careful. You ready? Asked Naruto. Yeah, said Menma. Both brothers vanished. Sakura was astonished as she watched as the hunter named tried to keep up. Haku twists and blocked Menma's blade. However, Naruto's fist came in as Haku ducked, but Menma's heel planted in his gut. Haku was thrown back. The battle didn't last that long. One-on-one perhaps, but these two together, Haku was demolished. He crashed on the bridge hard, with his mask broken. Hey Haku, said Naruto. Wait, you know who this is? Menma asked. I met him in the forest when I went to relax. The moment I came here, I knew that you were the one. You spoke to me about precious people, but as you can see, this is one of my precious persons, said Naruto. So I can't allow you to hurt him or any one of them. I understand. I'm no longer worthy of serving Zabuza-sama. You two have defeated me. I am a broken tool. Don't say that, said Naruto. Your life is not meaningless. You can still live. Perhaps you're right. There is something else I can do. Wait, no! However, Haku was already gone through the ice mirror. Both Naruto and Menma rushed over. Haku was impaled by the Chidori. Zabuza was being bound by Yamato, the wood style wrapping around him, as Yamato was on one knee, holding the position. Haku fired several senbon needles over towards Yamato, forced him to move and release the position. Zabuza tried to cut right through Haku. However, his blade was snapped in half when Naruto's fist broke it. It wasn't only that though. Naruto hit him as he slammed into the railing, spitting up a lot of blood, soaking his face mask. Naruto looked down towards him with rage in his eyes. After everything that he's done for you, you're willing to just cut right through him like he meant nothing. Naruto yelled. While that was going on, whatever this thing was, it was coming closer. Back on the bridge, Naruto's words inspired Zabuza to rise. And now the real threat was here. Hey kid, lend me a kunai. Naruto tossed it at Zabuza, caught it in his mouth, showing why he was called the demon, as he shredded through ninjas after ninjas until he gutted Gato. His body came to a stop with all the blades in it. As Naruto walked over, let me give you a hand, he said. The both of them rested beside each other, as Sakura could be seen helping up Sasuke. That is when all the others arrived. The thugs, realizing that They were outnumbered. The battle was won, but as Naruto looked down, they didn't have to die. Menma looked toward his brother when Naruto suddenly pushed him out of the way. Naruto grit his teeth in pain. A strange, black tentacle of sorts ripped into his guts. It was going to go through Menma. 3 people appear on the bridge. Their body was clouded in darkness. The cloth, the material that they wear, it was one that none have seen before. Their face was covered by a white mask. There was no eye holes, no mouth holes, nothing at all. "Who are you?" said Naruto, holding his gut, feeling that sensation but 10 times worse. Kakashi struggled to get back to his feet. The Sharingan really took a lot out of him. The one in the center that tried to kill Naruto spoke. "This is our first test, to see if you're strong enough, or if we will simply claim your life." "What?" said Naruto. Menma blurred through hand sign before he released a violent wind attack. The 3 of them vanished. Yamato slammed his hand on the bridge as massive wooden planks shoot upwards, but the one on the left, his hands had these unusual nails on it, claws that he shredded through the wood style. Yamato blinked as the guy was in front of him. Being a bit exhausted after the battle, Yamato was hit in the stomach. The force knocked the ear out of him. Kakashi jumped away from his spot. However, he was just too tired as his face was kicked in, launching both of the Jonins towards the opposite side of the bridge. Naruto glanced behind him as he looked towards Sakura as he mouthed the words, "Run! Now!" Sakura quickly backed away with the injured Sasuke as Menma stood by Naruto's side. The one in front of Naruto with the white mask looked towards him as he just looked at Naruto. The next moment, he attacked. Both Menma and Naruto clashed against whatever this thing was. He was fast. More than fast. Menma was slammed in the railing as it bent. He cried out in pain. Naruto grabbed Menma's hand and swung him away as the guy's hand seemed to turn into some sort of mallet to crush steel like it was nothing. Naruto blocked, twist, duck, jump. He slammed his fist right in the center of the thing. It was thrown back, but it seemed to not be injured. Naruto jumped in the air as he went through hand sign before. He slammed his hand on the bridge. Multiple wooden spikes shot outwards. To his shock though, the thing opened its body, making holes reside in its own body, so the wooden spikes passed through it. "What are you?" said Naruto, having no recollection. "It seems you're further behind than we thought. But it doesn't matter. It will be better if you're gone. And I can see what your weakness is." It shot forward as Naruto braced himself when it leaped over. Naruto's eyes went wide as Menma shot forward, blurring through hand sign as he did, Naruto doing the same. Wind style, fire style. The combination attack was launched towards the monster, but it turned and did something abnormal. It lifted its mask, and what they saw shocked them. It had no face, just a mouth with giant razor teeth. It sucked the technique inside of its mouth. Yes, it sucked it inside before firing it towards Sakura, Sasuke, and Tazuna. Naruto went through hand sign before he slammed his hand down, creating a massive wooden lock wall, blocking the technique. Menma flashed behind Naruto as he sliced. However, the tentacle wrapped around his blade. Naruto saw what was going to happen as he spun and knocked Menma out of the way. The tentacle that would have gone through his skull ripped into Naruto's shoulder. Naruto cursed. He then felt it as he screamed out in pain. Painful, isn't it? The thing said as it placed its mask back down. Menma tried to get up as the thing turned its gaze towards him as Naruto grabbed the tentacle. Leave him alone, he pulled it. However, the tentacle got large, ripping Naruto's shoulder open. A blood-curdling scream came from Menma as he saw Naruto drop down to his knees. Immediately, red chakra exploded out of him. His eyes turned red and demonic. I'm gonna kill you, Menma said. The demonic chakra leaking out of him. Menma jumped and swiped. However, the thing grabbed his hand and it removed the mask once again. Immediately, the chakra was sucked away from Menma as he was tossed. Like a dry rag, Menma collapsed on the ground. Naruto was motionless. Whatever this was, it was affecting him internally. Not just the tentacle, but something was coming off of it, trying to invade his body and destroy it from within. Its mask was still off. As it held its head to the sky, it started to build something. A giant, purple bomb from the chakra that it siphoned from Menma. As Menma's eyes went wide, Naruto, he struggled to speak. As Naruto's gaze fluttered as it focused on Menma. Run, he said, unable to move. When the other two quickly jumped back, towards their leader it seems. Naruto's eyes went wide, so did Minato's. Yes, Minato. A moment earlier, Kakashi realized that they were going to die. They were too weak to defend themselves. Their fight with Zabuza had drained them, and whatever this thing was, whatever they were, they siphoned chakra. And they've already used up so much, and the kids were alone over there. Kakashi reached for the kunai that he always kept with him. Minato arrived in a flash, knocking the two of them away. They were forced to jump back to their leader. The leader raised his hand and shot several tentacles towards Minato. He did not hesitate, as he distracted Minato long enough, just a few seconds to hit the technique into Naruto's face. Naruto's body was hit and thrown, as the attack shot outwards like a cannon. The very destructive ball. The bridge side was destroyed. When the attack hit the water, it went off. Minato sliced through the tentacles as he tried to reach, but the attack already went off. Boom! The entire ocean was split apart. The force of the bomb was coming to the bridge. The entire bridge, all that work, was gone. The bridge was completely destroyed, wiped away completely. As for the others, they were safely on land. Two clones of Minato were standing there, and there were two Hiraishin kunais on the land. Yes, along with everyone that was on the bridge. Minato had moved them before the impact had came that wiped everything away. The real Minato was quickly back on the ocean. Despite how violent it was being, his gaze swept around. Naruto! Naruto, he cried out! Despite the fact he saw what the technique did. The technique completely swallowed Naruto whole. There was no possible way that he could survive something like that. None at all. That is when Minato heard it. His chance of survival was less than 30%. The thing was standing there without its mask. Whatever kind of creature it was. Bloodlust. Violent bloodlust started to leak from Minato. Our goal is not to fight you. Minato flashed forward as a thing. Switched places with one of the others by simply shooting the tentacles out of his back. and it went through his own partner, and he exit out of his partner back through the tentacles. Minato tore the thing head clean off. The other one spread its tentacles, trying to stab Minato. However, Minato removed all of them in just seconds before carving the thing up. Its body collapsed down. Minato was bloodlusty as he looked towards the last one. It simply looked at him, without any eyes though, before it melted in the water as Minato appeared where it stood. Minato released the chakra on his feet, as he was now inside of the water as he looked down, his gaze trying to pinpoint it, but he couldn't see or sense it at all. It was gone. Minato pulled himself up, as Menma, a tired, exhausted Menma, was barely hobbling on top of the water. Where is he? Dad, where's Naruto? He said, looking around. All the bloodlust vanished from Minato as he turned towards his son. The look in his eyes. No. No. Find him. He's out here somewhere. Naruto. Menma screamed until his voice was exhausted. Naruto was gone. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see this person do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification say posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.